Oh, is that all? Bianjunwu looked at Zhang Yixian. His eyes were invisible under the toad mirror, but everyone could feel that he did not believe this. Because in this environment, searching for food also requires a lot of physical strength. How can the snow worship cult dig out food from a depth of more than 10 meters under the snow pile, and then continue to supply thousands of people and even a group of believers who once reached tens of thousands of people? Zhang Yixian and a group of priests and fathers had some strange expressions on their faces. Everyone can see that they are hiding a huge secret about food. The atmosphere at the scene became stiff. Bailey Changqing and other members of the investigation team looked at Zhang Yixian and others with a playful look, and they had a vague guess in their hearts. And this kind of guess is not uncommon in the end times. Udi said, "With nearly half of the followers dead, we can indeed feed the remaining people, right?" As soon as this was said, the people of the snow worship sect exploded on the spot. Han Chang shouted with disgust, "Don't talk nonsense! We never do that kind of thing!" Dai Mei frowned and refuted, "Don't compare us with those beasts." Udi shrugged his shoulders and said with a slightly teasing look, "Then you can't have survived by drinking the northwest wind, right? Enough. Don't talk first." Just when the two sides were about to quarrel, Zhang Yixian and Bianjunwu stopped them at the same time. Zhang Yixian took a deep breath, bowed to Bianjunwu and said, "There are indeed some secrets in this, but this is related to the survival of our snow worship sect, so it will not be mentioned to outsiders." "Oh, really?" Bianjunwu's voice was still cold, but it seemed to question Zhang Yixian. "Can't even we know?" At this time, any secret that cannot be told may be related to the corpse tide. Bianjunwu suspected that the corpse tide was actually deliberately caused by the local forces in Tianhai City. Zhang Yixian raised his head and looked at Bianjunwu deeply. "If you really want to know, I can give you an answer." Bianjunwu said, "Okay." Zhang Yixian stood up straight. "Please follow me." Han Chang and Dai Mei behind him were a little anxious. "High Priest, can this kind of thing be told to outsiders?" Zhang Yixian waved his hand at them. "It doesn't matter. Everyone in the investigation team is from the Jiangnan district, and they don't look down on our things." The priests and priests under him were very anxious and unwilling to reveal the secrets of the snow worship cult, because they knew that once this secret was known to other forces in Tianhai City, it would be like a huge weakness of their own being grasped by the other party. Even these people from the Jiangnan district may covet the treasure. That thing is the foundation of the snow worship cult's existence to this day. But Zhang Yixian, as the high priest, is second only to the leader Yuan Kongye. He has made a decision, and others cannot violate it. Zhang Yixian led Bianjunwu and others to the abandoned building next to St. John's Cathedral. When they arrived in front of the building, Bianjunwu suddenly stopped. He frowned, because the building in front of him gave him a very bad feeling. The gray reinforced concrete building pierced directly into the snow, like a coffin for a burial. Bianjunwu's keen intuition reminded him that it was best not to approach this place. Bailey Changqing also came over and whispered, "Captain, what a strong smell of blood." At this time, Zhang Yixian in front turned his head and looked at them with a weird smile on his face. Bianjunwu adjusted his glasses and followed him in silently. There was one thing he didn't tell his teammates. After going blind, his senses became more acute. Just now, he saw something very strange outside the building. In front of him, this was not an abandoned commercial building. It was a huge, hideous, and terrifying monster. It was hundreds of meters high, with countless limbs dancing wildly, and there were intricate roots underground. A group of people entered the building from the entrance, and the bloody smell became stronger. But this bloody smell was a little strange. It was not like the breath of a dead thing, but like it just flowed out of a living person. It was so fresh, so rich, not pungent, and even had a psychedelic sweetness. As they went deeper, they finally saw the face of the monster. "Everyone, this is the secret of the snow worship cult. Do you still want to come and have a look?" Udi crossed his arms and sneered. "Playing tricks." The entire building was occupied by a huge, strange plant. Its vines and branches covered the entire building, and the bright red branches and leaves on the walls exuded strange dark red luster. On the branches you can see bright red fruits. Bianjunwoo and others saw this scene and understood something. Is this the food you need to survive? Zhang Yixian reached out and picked a red fruit from the branch and handed it to Bianjunwoo. Yes, this is a mutant plant we found. We call it blood vine. It has extremely strong vitality. It can absorb nutrients from everything around it and then transform it into its own vitality and bear fruit. This red fruit is our important source of food. Bianjunwoo glanced at the red fruit handed to him by Zhang Yixian and slowly took it in his hand. He did not eat it, but observed it carefully. Zhang Yixian smiled and said, "Don't worry, this fruit is non-toxic. We have been eating it for more than a few months, and no one has been found to be abnormal because of it." Bianjunwoo said lightly, "That makes sense. But are the fruits it produces enough for thousands of you to eat?" Zhang Yixian continued to move forward. "Normal fruits are not enough, but there are ways to speed up its fruit production. For example, this." As he said, he pointed to the ceiling in front of him. Bianjunwoo and others looked up and saw an ellipsoid-shaped object hanging on the ceiling. The red branches and leaves wrapped it tightly, vaguely emitting a faint red light. When you look closely, it actually formed the shape of a human body that seems to be there and not there. "Is this a human?" Meng Siyu couldn't help but widen her eyes. "You use humans as nutrients to make it bear fruit?" Zhang Yixian said expressionlessly. "To be precise, it is the remains of humans." A moment later, the members of the investigation team followed Zhang Yixian to the depths of the blood vine. They saw an extremely amazing scene. The huge space in the middle of the building has been opened up by the blood vine, and the upper and lower parts have become an extremely open space, connected to the ceiling of the highest floor. The trunk of the blood vine is thick and strong, like an animal, and even has a rhythm like breathing. And the surrounding walls and floors are full of those ellipsoidal objects. At a glance, there are more than thousands. Zhang Yixian put his right hand on his chest, closed his eyes, and prayed. "May the pioneers become the hope of the survivors, and their flesh and blood are my food." At this moment, everyone understood where the food of the snow worship cult came from. They contributed the bodies of the dead as nutrients to the blood vine. Then the blood vine absorbed the nutrients of the bodies, produced fruits, and fed back in this way. Udi crossed his arms and frowned. "What's the difference between doing this and eating people?" Meng Siyu said, "There is a difference. At least it can avoid prion infection, and it is easier to accept psychologically." Although everyone was shocked by the huge mutant plants in front of them, they did not feel physiological abnormalities in this situation. After all, they have seen too many weird scenes. This form of handling corpses is considered good. Zhang Yixian turned around and said to everyone sincerely, "Everyone, this is the biggest secret of my snow worship sect. It concerns the life and death of thousands of our followers. Please help keep this secret." Zhang Yixian was not worried that people in the Jiangnan region would be tempted by the blood vine. If there was nothing to eat, who would want to eat this kind of food? After all, it is a fruit that draws nutrients from corpses. What's more, with the huge size of the blood vine, it is difficult to move it elsewhere. Bianjunwoo nodded. "Don't worry, we will keep it a secret for you." After saying that, he threw the red fruit in his hand to Udi next to him, and then turned and walked out. Udi took a look at the fruit, his face full of disgust, and then threw it to Kong Sheng next to him. Kong Sheng threw it to Qi Guangming again. Several people threw it back and forth, treating it as a game. However, they would never eat this kind of thing. Zhang Yixian showed a strange smile on his face, and then walked out with everyone. He looked back and saw that the thousands of corpses hanging around the blood vines began to sway slightly, not knowing whether it was because of the wind or something else. After leaving the abandoned building, Bianjunwoo found that people from other forces had not arrived yet, so he proposed to meet Yuan Kongye, the leader of the snow worship sect. Bianjunwoo said without comment, "Since you are here, you must meet him. I have heard rumors about your leader, and even some leaders in the region are very interested in her abilities." Zhang Yixian's pupils shrank slightly. The big shots in the Jiangnan region are interested in Yuan Kongye's ability. This is a very important signal. Indeed, Yuan Kongye's ability is very abnormal. She can help others awaken their abilities. In other words, if you get her, it is equivalent to getting an endless army of mutants. However, this is also a great opportunity for the Snow Worship sect. If they can get the support of the regional forces, the development speed of their sect will surely become more and more terrifying. Zhang Yixian said to Bian Junwu, "Please wait a moment, I will go and inform the leader." Bian Junwu nodded. Zhang Yixian walked toward St. John's Cathedral on his own. After he left, everyone looked at their backs with different expressions on their faces. Perhaps because of the shock brought by the blood vine, Wu Di frowned and said, "I always feel that this snow worship cult exudes a sense of evil." Kong Sheng said in a deep voice, "This is not surprising. After all, organizations that exist in the form of religion will be more or less weird." Meng Siyu said, "But the snow worship cult has existed until now, and it has allowed so many believers to survive. It is also a very powerful ability." Bailey Changqing came to Bian Junwu's side. "Captain, are the higher-ups really interested in this Yuan Kongye?" Bian Junwu raised his eyebrows and said lightly, "When we came here, someone mentioned that we should check her ability. If it is really as the intelligence shows, she can make people awaken their superpowers without paying any price. Then the leaders above will definitely want to get her." Subscribe for more episodes.